My name is Mina Hartong. It's so nice to be here. I am a former DOE teacher, theater teacher, so you can survive it. You're here to tell. I'm a professional comic and also an education facilitator, so I'm just really excited to share my love of comedy with you today.
Hi, I'm Anthony Von Merchant. I am a teaching artist and a professional actor. And if you depends on who you ask, they would say that like, yeah, no, you make the funny things. But I am not a comedian. So yeah, there you go.
Awesome. So I'm going to jump right in with norms. Normally I would take a little more time to create these together, but we don't have a lot of time. So I just want to sort of put some things out there that will help us to have a really good, productive time with you. So first things first, you're professionals. Teachers are not always treated that way. You are here, okay? So you need water, you drink water. You got to go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom. You're an adult, you take care of yourself, you got to take a phone call, you got to take a phone call. You're a person, okay? You're a professional. All I ask is that I get a little distracted, so if you could silence your phone, it would really help me. But if you need to jump out, do your thing, you don't have to ask. Okay, you're professionals, and we see you that way. This is especially for me. Anybody talk too much, and their family says stop interrupting me all the time. You know, no, really, just pick up people. Okay. So please share the air. If you're that person, make space for others to speak. Hang back. If you're the person who hangs back, try to put yourself out there. Okay, so leave the teacher at the door. So if you didn't already, look at the door, leave them out there. I know it's hard to do. It's really hard to shut it down. But this next hour is about you as a theater artist, as a person, as a professional. So just try not to think about the kids too much. Just jump in with the work and take some risks and let yourself play and have some fun. We're going to follow you there. Okay? Any questions about that? We're going to be up and down on our feet. Modify if you need to. Terrific. Let's get started. We love circles. Let's do a circle.
Come on.
Come on over. I'm going to keep that door ajar just, so that show's coming up. So I'm going to do what I can. All right. We might do concentric, or we can use any space we have available. You can stagger it. I know we're a little bit of a storm. Okay, beautiful. Do you want to do the?
Yeah, absolutely, great.
People this time?
Fantastic. So we are going to tell a story together. I'm going to cheat this and start with the final notes at the beginning because this will definitely happen with your students. What's super important about this is listening. What's super important about this is listening. What's super important about this?
Listening.
You are so right. Okay, so here's the thing. We're going to, I'm going to point to someone, they're going to start telling a story, and then I'm going to point to someone else, and they will continue telling that story. Why listening is so important is because you want to, connect these things, right? It's very important to be like, hey, that's connected to the thing that I just heard, and which is connected to the two things that I just heard, and then the three things, and so on and so forth, right? Because nothing, then it will sound like a 5-year-old telling a story if you're like, and then this thing, and you're like, buddy, anyway, all right. Cool, great. So I get just something to you, sir. Something, just a word of something that bothers you.
Drivers in the left lane.
Drivers in
Slow drivers in the left lane.
Got you. Slow drivers in the left lane. That is our topic. Slow drivers in the left lane. Everyone good? Okay. Bridget, I'm going to ask you to start, and now look at me for eye contact and hand pointage, and that will be when we go to the next person. Dig it?
Slow drivers in the left lane make me say the weirdest things, like, I cannot see myself.
They constantly cut you off and then they flip you the middle finger, and it drives me crazy.
Keep going until he lets you go. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
That's all right. And the other day, this 90-year-old man
was driving in the left lane and his window was open and my window was open, and I just said the strangest
Thing to him. It was like, I have a bad mouth sometimes. I was like, hijo de puta, because he wouldn't move his car.
And I kept on driving, but then I thought to myself, I really need to be more patient. And as I was driving, I started to go really slow. But then I started to think about how much he made me mad, and he was still going slower than me in the left lane. So I
continue to go slow because I actually go very slow in the left lane. That's why they annoy me. Because I want to be the slowest one in the lane. I was so angry at him that I decided the only thing to do was to cut him off. And then I flipped him off because that's what I do when I get really upset. And it made me feel so much. And I knew that I just made his day worse. And so I
And so he then flipped me off, and then we looked at each other, and once our eyes met, I realized that I had met
My future husband. Most beautiful person I ever met. And I just shouted out the window.
Call me. I happen to have a dry erase board in my passenger seat to write.
I'm sorry.
To write my number, and then we continued to flip the bird as he used the bird to dial my number.
And he's been my sugar daddy ever since.
Who have I missed? Who have I missed? Okay, got it.
So as my sugar daddy, he's moved in, I moved in with him. And at first it was a little bit rocky, there's a bit of an age difference. He's turned out to be quite an attentive
person at all times. And we decided we would race cars together because that was something that we met each other on. So we go out late at night, we go and have like 11 o'clock races
on the drag strip, and we have somebody do like the Pinky Tuscadero, and like this, and then
Have I forgotten anyone? Have I forgotten anyone?
and so yeah, and
Bring us
so
home,
it's
bring us
great.
home, Mary
So
Jane.
it's great, and though the one thing is though, he definitely sometimes falls asleep behind the wheel, but that means I just win all the time, so it's pretty great. And yes.
All right.
I was snapping on a call, there's a couple of callbacks we call in comedy, right? The age difference, bringing that back. I love the bilingual story, we pulled that in there as well. This is an improv game you may have played with your students. Active listening, right, is necessary. You can have a student do that thing that Anthony did. When Anthony and I were planning this workshop, when I teach this to adults, I say, bring in one of your favorite stories to tell. It could be how you met your partner, it could be like your favorite family vacation, it could be your mom. Talk about your mom.
Definitely not.
Right. And then we were talking it through and realized, you know, kids this age, they have material, but they don't necessarily know what their stories are yet, right? So we want to sort of grab snippets, and we're going to work on scripts later, the way you could do that with that. If you look at their text thread, they have a story, but they're not necessarily aware that if you say to them, hey, what's one of your stories? They'd be like, oh, I don't know, you're asking me to write an essay, they'll freeze, right? So we're going to sort of scaffold it for how you would do it with your students today, with just snippets of story, which is what we just did.
Yes, fantastic. So first question, like how do you get material from your students now? Which is I'm asking. Yes.
So I sometimes have them bring in like an object that's personal to them, and like I have them like write like monologues from the point of view of the object.
I love that. That's one of my favorite.
Object monologue,
Yeah, object monologue is a lot of fun. That's the beginning of my sketch class. I had oh, I don't know who has this student. Anyway, I had a student write a hilarious racist monologue from the point of view of salt.
Oh.
Yeah. Salt lives matter was the end of it. It was great. Yes.
Where I'm from, like where I'm from home, and then using that to translate into a story.
Excellent.
We do like a 100-word story.
Ooh.
Sometimes we start with like a 6-word story, then turn it into a 100-word story. So it's starting to get very limited, and then they build it from there.
That's excellent. That is definitely going to, that kind of scaffolding is definitely going to come in handy with what we're doing here as well. Because I love that idea, like as a performer and as a writer and as everything of like, what do you do? Actually, lighting design is what taught me this, but like my lighting design teacher was like, if you only had one light, where do you put it, right? And it's like, oh, right. And it's like, great, now I give you 2 lights. How does that change it? And that same idea of like, hey man, you've got 6 words.
Yeah.
Now what do you do? What will you do with 6? What will you do with 50? That's great, that's fantastic. Yes, one last one.
I found these story cards and they have a picture in the word, so it's like character, goal, obstacle. So it'll be like a cat, goal, wants to eat pizza, obstacle, gets stuck in a bubble thing. So with the little ones, they just act it out. The older ones, I tell them you have 15 minutes to write a quick little skit, and then they act it out. And then sometimes there's blank, so they add their own.
I love it. That's like a bit of a Mad Lib. which is
Yes,
awesome. That's great. That's fantastic. So, as I'm sure you all know, but like even as adults, there's nothing more terrifying than a blank sheet of paper. So it's really important. So as a student, like have the terror in their eyes, and you're like, you can write about anything. They're like, and so you're like, great. Here, we're going to work on like how can we just get into some things that like you could talk about. Not stuff that you think is funny, because funny will come, promise. But just like things that you talk about, things that you go in on. One of the things that I go in on and bothers me so much. My mother likes to keep pens but like she never gets rid of them even when they stop writing. So like I come to where there's so many pens in my house, they like all live in a very large jar, but none of them work, but she keeps putting them back, and it's just like, it fuels me with the rage of 1,000 suns. Because if I need to write something down, I know that I'm gonna grab a pen and it won't work, and I'm already defeated. Like I look at the jar and I'm like, this will never go right. But like I can talk about that for an hour and my mom's delusions, right? It's just the thing that like, what is the thing that gets you in? So to get us started
Yeah,
on
so
that.
like the topic, the prompts, Anthony and his mother's pens could be a Netflix special eventually, or at least 15 minutes of it, right? So we want to make this less intimidating for you and for your students, right? So we're going to work with prompts. You're going to get some paper. You can use your phone. I'm a little old school. I love to do the longhand with the pen. And have a seat, and I'm going to guide you through some of these prompts. And this script is just for today. No one's grading it. You don't have to be fun. You can throw it away. We just need to get some material so we can start doing the structure of stand-up. So have a seat, get comfortable. We have paper. I have pens if you need them. All right. I love that. I have one in my bag. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, let me know if you need
Okay. So up here, there's just some like prompts to get you started, right? I'm gonna give you like 3 to 5 minutes to start writing on this. Let me be really clear, teachers. Don't be teachers. Like leave it. Like you don't have to write these in order. We're not going to check your work. This is literally just like a brainstorm. Where do you want to go with this? What are you vibing? What are you feeling, right? Things that delight you, things that you're just like, I really love this. Things that annoy you.
My mom's
things that like you wish for, that you just wish would be, things that you're afraid of, things that like gross you out or give you the ick, ways that you think you are or you're not, like, oh, like I'm totally a people person, or like I'm like not a people person. I am an actor and a teacher in an incredibly social position who hates people. It's a true story. I don't like people that much, but that's who I am. Something maybe your parents used to say. Yesterday was my dad's birthday, so I always remember that he would say, everything in its place, because I would just lose things. And he'd be like, well, where did you put it? Because if you put it where it was supposed to go, you wouldn't have lost it. And I'm like, yeah, that's a fair point. And I can still hear him in my head to this day. What kind of a person are you? Either New Yorker, what is it? Like, what's your deal, right? Again, in no particular order, just start writing about a thing that you're really like, what do you follow your feeling? What is the thing that you could talk about that you're like, I feel this, yes.
You want us to brainstorm on one, or?
Up to you.
It's your world.
This is a start.
No,
So just to
wrong.
amplify that, it's Bridget, right? So you can pick a couple of these. You're making lists. You don't need to make full sentences. Just brainstorming on any of these topics that get you going right now. You can make your own topic if you're feeling something else. But most important thing, do not try to be funny right now. Just get stuff down. Funny will come. Right now we're just generating material, so don't try to push that funny.
Dig it.
It'll be there.
Cool, you got like 3 to 5 minutes. Go enjoy.
Okay, we're going to pause you there. Certainly keep writing as you're listening to the next thing. So the next thing is to scan your script, the beginning of your material, and circle or mark up a particular topic, what we would call a bit in stand-up comedy, because you're going to only share a minute. Right? One person is going to go through the whole process of what you would do with your students, which is to sort of put their stand-up 1 minute on stage. We'll do that later. But right now we're going to share it with a few other people, just in partners, so nothing too intimidating. So pick something that you are really resonating with today that you wrote down. And don't think too much about it, right? Don't overthink it. Circle it for yourself because you're going to carry your script with you. First thing that jumps out, like, yeah, we'll talk about that today. I want to, again, for you. Not trying to be funny, just something that is speaking to you. Cool, okay. And so leave your pens where you are, just bring your paper with you if you have it on your phone, and then go ahead and stand in front of your chair and just be on your feet. Because, stand-up comedy, right? We're gonna stand up. So now you're gonna do like a minute of stand-up with one person. Right? So I think we're 18, so if you can just stack yourselves into the space where you can find one person to work with, we're gonna switch it up. But just find that person and come out into the space, face them, and I'll get you set up. Okay, so if you're in the back there, yeah. Yeah, I'll get out of your way. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. You're going to speak to at least 2 or 3 different people. You're gonna share 1 minute of what you wrote. You're not gonna get to finish it. You're gonna be interrupted. That's all good. I'd like you to do the same bit with each person you meet. Okay, so you can start refining it, noticing what you like about it, what they might be smiling at or maybe even laughing at. But again, don't push it, don't try to be funny right now. What you're gonna do is you're gonna find a partner that you just had, and you're gonna each have 1 minute. The person who's listening, please don't direct, don't interrupt. You can smile and laugh, but just be an active listener. And then the other person will have their minute, and it's gonna call out switch, it's gonna call 1 minute, it's gonna get a little loud in here. If you feel like you do on the call, that's fine. And then we're gonna ask you to find a new partner. Same thing, don't think about it. I'm gonna go over here and talk to you for a minute. You're gonna talk to me for a minute about your bit. And I'm gonna go over here and do it with you. And we'll probably get at least 3 rounds in, just to loosen up and not be, too serious about our stand-up comedy.
All right, great, fantastic, and go. Okay. So, first of all, I noticed, I did hear something, but I want to make sure that we verbally check in on this. That you were getting to a point, you especially as I particularly noticed. I'm sorry, what's your name?
Geraldine.
Geraldine. What would you prefer to be called?
Geraldine, because no one calls me that.
Geraldine. So Geraldine, I noticed that you got a bit of a pop at literally 57 seconds. You got the biggest laugh of your story, this is what I mean to go about refining. Did you guys see how? And I hope you don't follow the instructions. But when you tell the same story by telling it 3 times, you're like, oh, I'm getting to. Sorry, twice. Sorry for that.
It felt
flip it and then flip again. My bad. But in telling it twice, how you're like, oh, I see what was this kind of worked the first time, and if I take that and shine it up the second time, it gets where you're like, oh, I'm starting to learn what the maybe not necessarily funny, but I'm learning what's getting a reaction. I'm learning where the gold of the story is, right? The thing that wants to be mined. Yes, Reggie?
The reaction wasn't what you. The reaction was a surprise. What?
Sometimes it be like that. Sometimes.
Something to add on to that is that I'm thinking about students, and a lot of times, and also with new comics. When I work with new comics, they want to throw out the material so quickly, but it's not working. That's why we ask you to use the same material with these 2 partnerships, because sometimes you have to throw it out, but give it some time and to refine and to land. And a lot of times students would want to just keep changing it up. You change it in your routine, and then they can't get into what might work in it, right? So you stay with it. I love seeing you laugh and smile. All I get since 2020 is, as a comedian, everyone's like, I just need to laugh. So that was a nice thing to see.
Yes.
All right.
Good dig.
Okay, great. So we're gonna actually have maybe at least one person go through the whole process of what maybe your first 3 or 4 lessons this would look like, depending on if you wanted to take it back to the classroom. We're trying to do 2, but we're definitely gonna have one person just go through the whole process so we can model it for you. But you're gonna be a really active audience. Everyone's gonna play a role in this. So when you do this, if you do this with your students, if you do it with anybody, please set up some peer feedback. This is mine, you can borrow it, but it's always best if you create your own with whoever you're working with. We know from our research that if we don't start with positive feedback, we know that people shut down. This is also true in life, relationships, marriage, etc. Okay? Right? So I can speak to that. You can watch my show. But anyway, so we're going to start with the positive, and before we get into more of, I would call the improvement. But even adults, right? I teach adults all the time. You should do that. Oh, you should do that. And then people they stop listening to you. Okay? So couch it. Don't set kids free with this. They're going to tell their friends they're amazing, which tells them nothing, right? Or they're going to be too hard on each other, and it's going to shut those students down. This is very vulnerable work. Talking about your life, right? It's it's the most exposed I think you can be on stage as a comic or a storyteller. So I have a mentor, Jane Condon, who's a favorite comic of mine. We don't have time to write long emails to each other because we're always working. So she'll watch my set. If I send her a video, she will tell me 2 things. What's relatable and then she will quote me back to myself. So if she hears a line that pops, as Anthony said, I know she's saying to me, keep that exact wording in your set. So it's a quick and easy way to give positive feedback. So we're going to use that. When we see a comment or two up here, and then we can get into, well, I'm going to give you a minute, right? So what else did you want more of? Did you want more of that character, more of that bit, more of that section, right? And then is anything not unclear or confusing, right? And then we'll go from there. Again, this is 1 minute. Time is super important in comedy. If you go to a comedy club, they give you 3 minutes. If you go over, they do not invite you back. Time is like super, super important. And time limits help, because if you're working with new comics, they're gonna go on and on and on. So give them a minute, give them 2, give them 3, get someone as a timekeeper. I'm gonna be timekeeper for this,
Yes, and a couple things.
and you're gonna, and then you're gonna MC. Yeah, let's do it.
So if you use this, this is this is my second time seeing this. But if you use this feedback, what I very much like about all of it is that these are, I think these 3 are positive. These are the things that we're pointing out that we like, right? It's also important for the person who's not up here. As an audience, and we're also, we have all the students. It's not like I'm going to make one stand-up comic and everyone else, I don't care what happens to you. Everyone should be learning all together, right? So we're learning about being an audience, and as you said, people are going to be like, oh, my friend was great, and you're like, cool, great. But like now you're an artist, I need you to do more. I need you to ask yourself why something is funny. I need you to dig into why something made you laugh and ask yourself that question, because like you're an artist now. You're more than human. You're human plus. So like, why did that work? Why do you want more of it? Why? So asking ourselves those questions, quotes, lines, and phrases. Love it. Again, this is positive feedback. You're like, I love when they did that. It stays positive. What do you want? I love this wording, and this is why I think it's positive. What do you want more of is not, you should do this. What do you want more of is like, I love that thing that you did and I want more of it, and that keeps it positive. Which is why, my 2 cents, I would reserve what was unclear, I would reserve that as the teacher to be the one person to get that feedback, rather than have 50 kids looking at one kid and being like, I didn't like this and that wasn't good. I'm like, that sounds like death. That's the worst thing that could ever happen to someone in their life. So like, don't put someone through that. That's my 2 cents on that, right? So they'd be like, hey, and that way they're only getting feedback from one person. Hopefully it's the person that they should be listening to, as like, you're like the adult in the room. You're like, they can handle a little, it wasn't just like your phrasing on whatever it is, it'll come out. So we are going to, can I get a volunteer?
Okay. And think about who might want to come up and share their minute, and it's the same minute you did in the partnerships, right? So that, what you just did with the partner was a very microcosm version of stand-up comedy. You talked to somebody, you broke the fourth wall, you told them the story. Let's model this. Let's have either one of us reserve this one for the directors,
absolutely,
like you would in the classroom. And also keeping in mind, do the same set. And yeah, we're gonna get at least one person out, and Anthony's gonna MC. I'm gonna give you 1 minute to share, and please be active audience. Be ready to give feedback. You can take notes if you like.
Aaron, you want to do the thing?
Yeah.
I saw your hand. Fantastic. And one last thing on time. I just wanted to get into that time thing.
Yeah.
Is that like, as we all know, stage time doesn't operate in real time. Like stage time and real time are never the same. If you've ever seen if you've ever gone up on a line, you're like, this was infinity. You're like, I went up, I forgot my line for 3 seconds, and you're like, I died 1,000 deaths in that same amount of time. Like stage time is not real. So getting a feel for being on stage and actually being able to clock real time is part of the skill that we're also building here. Yes, and it also goes to, where did you go? Yes, it goes to what you were saying earlier about building on like, what do you do in 6 words? What do you do in 60 seconds?
Yes,
what do you do in 2 minutes? So on and so forth.
Can we have a standby person in case we have time for 2? Anybody want to?
Standby?
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay,
Fantastic.
great.
Cool. Great. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Erin!
So, I'm allergic to everything. Well, pretty much everything. And some of it's pretty weird. Some of it's standard. I'm allergic to pretty much all antibiotics ever. Found out the fun way when I was 5 to penicillin, throat closed up, emergency room. Great time. I see the moms in the room because they're like, oh my God. And also it was a military hospital, so I had a big, strong military man put the needles on my back and go, push! So I don't have years because of that. But the weirdest one I discovered when I was 21, and we all know what happens when you're 21. You go out for your first drink or your first drink, and I was in London, and my friends were like, we're gonna get you a Guinness, you're Irish, this is gonna be great. So I sat there, I was like, cool. So I'm drinking the Guinness, I'm like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted. Cool, I'm gonna keep drinking it because my friends are watching. I'm drinking it, and I start feeling itchy, and my throat starts feeling itchy, and I'm looking at my friends like, I don't feel great. And they're like, you look like you have the plague. You look like the plague monster. And I'm like, great, I'm in a foreign country, and I don't know why I look like the plague monster.
And that's time. Yeah. So, Erin, just for your own knowledge, that's a minute.
Thank you.
Great, so stay up there, we're gonna do some feedback.
Absolutely, great. All right, so first of all, for everybody, what was relatable? What were the things that you were like, oh yeah, I connect with that, yes.
I like the first drink.
Right, that totally relatable, absolutely. What else?
The hospital visit?
Which one?
I guess the emergency room.
Okay, yeah, you're like, I've been to emergency room, yes.
Dealing with peer pressure, and kids who love that too.
Peer pressure, legit, yes. You had
I was
one?
gonna say, like, having everyone watch you, and so you try to finish the thing, so
Excellent. That's really interesting. I'm just gonna point out real quick, that's really interesting to grab because that was like a throwaway comment to you, but that really landed to someone. So you could be like, maybe we put that on the shelf in some kind of way. Yes.
The allergy testing.
The allergy testing.
It's horrible.
Yes, we got an agreement on the allergy testing. Fantastic. Cool. What about quotes and lines? Yes.
Oh, one line, you're Irish, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
Keep it.
You're Irish, you're gonna love it. Okay, fantastic. Yes.
The plague monster.
You look like the plague monster. Okay, yes, and I'm gonna yes and that one to say. I see you got it, no problem. That plague monster line, you went to it twice, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to go to it twice. You want to figure out what's the best way to set it up.
Yeah.
You either want to go to it 3 times or you want to go to it once. But you want to set it up, right? Because that was you finding it, and you're like, which one do I? You literally, I know what happened. You went like, do I want to say that I look like I have the plague, or do I want to say I look like the plague monster? And then you did both. Now you get to decide which one you're gonna do. And I imagine that's probably gonna be your ending line if this rolls the same way. You're gonna throw away the timer. Yes, we're gonna we want it to be a minute. We're aiming for a minute.
We're gonna extend it to 2 minutes because we're in the next round when she goes again.
Gotcha.
But I'm gonna jump in while I'm thinking of it. So I heard 2 actual quotes from the feedback, and you're all being like you can have your students have a notebook and write things down to keep them active. And then if someone says the one about the Irish one, I snapped on it. The comic can then know if you ask your students to wave at it, then they know how many people heard that too because you have a big group of kids.
Geraldine.
I just love the line when she said, like the moms know what I'm talking about, because she brought in the audience, and she brought a new group that can resonate.
Yeah.
Love that. So that speaks to a little bit of fourth wall, right? Like fourth wall breaking, working the audience, yes.
And she imitated us. She's like, you're like,
Take it. That's great. That's a great way to interact with the audience. This has not come up yet, but I'm gonna throw it in now. Oh, go ahead.
but I'm allergic to everything.
Great. I'm allergic to everything. That's a great quote.
Yeah.
That's a great quote. That's fantastic. This hasn't come up yet, but I'm gonna throw it in here just so that we don't skip it. There's some things we talked to. We'll get to more of it, but about persona. Like what is this that a person brings to the stage? What is the person that they are presenting that they bring to the stage? Would be that character, be that it's always going to be something about you turned up. Whatever it is, like maybe it's being super dry, maybe it's being super neurotic, whatever it is, it's going to be you.
Yeah, and since we came in, we can look at that this second round, and we can look at what is this persona that Erin, not necessarily who she is, but as a comic, a storyteller, what kind of character is she sort of giving off, and also it could be your comedy persona, because a lot of times your comedy persona is nothing like what you are in real life. It's amplified on stage.
Yeah, which I love. That's more stage life, right? It's like where I always tell kids, and I'm like, listen, your like 3 to 5 just doesn't belong on stage. Like there's just not enough energy for 3 to 5 is just not stage worthy. You want to be like a 1, or you want to be 8, 9, 10. But the way that you go through the world every day isn't stage worthy.
Let's do a few more. I'm going to try it again.
Yes, absolutely. What do you want more of?
Or maybe you got it all.
I don't know if it goes in the same vein, but maybe the self-deprecating thing.
Ooh, okay,
Okay?
okay, cool, yes.
I want to know more about the needles in the back.
Yeah, me too.
Interesting, great.
And the military man who did it, like,
That's interesting because of, yes, Peter?
I want to know more about the moment you realize I'm allergic to that thing.
Yeah.
Dig it. So there's also, I'm just pointing out this interesting moment from this feedback, is that like, there was a thing, everyone identified with going to the emergency room. Everyone in here has like been to the emergency room because we're all adults, I guess. But not everyone identifies with the needles in the back.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
So that needs to be explained in some kind of way. Unless the bit is like we had last time, the bit is like everyone knows this. You know what I mean? Like everyone bleeds through their eyes when they break their wrist. You know what I mean? You're like, wait, what? You're like, okay, right. So we need a little explanation because for those of us that aren't allergic to the world and live in bubbles, that didn't happen to us. Cool, great. Anything for going? Yes.
So I'm not jumping on not clear and
Yeah.
confusing. Nothing was unclear or confusing. The only thing I would say, I think I'm already hearing you in the room, is everything you're doing, do it more. Amplify is an exaggerated performance form, right? It's just you, right? It's just you and your facial expressions and your actor's body and whatever skills you have. You're a solo storyteller up there. So you can exaggerate however your style is and just make it more theatrical. But everything was super clear in terms of what you were conveying, right? I'm gonna move you upstage just because you have this nice crowd, right? You're breaking the fourth wall, right? And then this time look for all of these things, but persona, right? What persona is starting to develop here that we're starting to see? And again, a way to keep us all involved in the active feedback folks. Okay.
Dig. Last thing, this is for us again. This is that helpful part. As you are not teachers, but as you are framing for your students, you're gonna see the same set again. It's not gonna be the same, it's gonna be a little bit different, but like you know where it's going, but our job as audience members always, and definitely always as like practitioners of theater, is to do it for the first time, to see it for the first time. We are not performing for the people who have seen it 20 times. We're performing it for the people who have not seen it yet. They don't know, and we need to be receptive in that same way. I don't want you to fake anything, but also I don't want you to be like, I knew where that was going. Dig it? Cool, great. And that's that is definitely something to take to our students as well. All right,
Right.
You ready?
And Erin, have fun and just take whatever feedback you want and throw away the rest. You know, just enjoy yourself and see what you find out, see what you discover.
Dig it.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the second time tonight, Erin!
Amazing. So I'm allergic to everything, and some of it's pretty weird. Now, some of it's pretty normal stuff, like you find out when you're 5 and you take penicillin for the first time, and your throat closes up and you can't breathe, and your mom rushes you to the emergency room. And I even saw some people sit back just now, like, oh crap. The moms in the room are like, oh my goodness, please never be me. So when I'm there, it's a military hospital. My dad was in the Army. And the big military guy, he's like, I failed the med school test 5 times, but the Army put me in here. Sits me down, and I'm 5, I'm like this big. And he lays me down, he takes my shirt off, my back's exposed. He's like, I'm trying tic-tac-toe in your back, but it's really big. So it's like a 5x5 square thing on my back, and he's like, I'm gonna put some needles in there, and there's needles about this big. There are about 10 needles in each one, and he puts this board on my back, and he says, I'm just gonna push down a little bit. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, boom! Okay? Needles the rest of my life. I don't even have pierced ears. I was like, but the most weird thing is, I found out when I was 21, I was studying abroad in London. My friends were like, we gotta take you out for your first drink. And I was like, yes, my first drink. And so we're sitting down, I was like, what should my first drink be? And I'm like, they're like, oh, Guinness. You're Irish, you'll love it. Like, okay, that's great, sure. And so they pour it to me, and I'm like, oh, they put a little 4-leaf clover, that's great. And I drink it, and I'm like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever had in my mouth. My friend's like, good. It's okay. So I drink some more. I'm like, oh, this is vile. They're looking. I'm gonna keep drinking. They're still looking. I'm gonna keep drinking. And then all of a sudden I started itching, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm itching. And like, maybe I've drunk enough. I don't have to anymore. And I'm like, oh, what's right? It's itchy. My throat is itching. And my lips don't normally itch. I'm like, what's going on? And I look at my friends. I'm like, I don't feel great. Is this how Guinness is supposed to go? Last time.
The itching, you can Carol Burnett that.
Oh,
It's just like, all of that. But what did you notice? from the feedback? What did you see delivered?
She really expanded on the choices that we made.
Yeah.
She suggested.
Right, she went for it.
Very
Yeah,
impressive.
she made choices, and she amplified, and then you found new things, right? Like you found new punchlines, and my quote now is this how Guinness is supposed to go? One of the things do we know from all of our practice and our formative assessment, and the research all shows us, and this is why I want to model this for you, is that we have so little time, right? We have like a 45 double period maybe of theater, I don't know how many times a week, but if you can take the time to give a second round and the feedback is fresh, you will get that result. If we had sat Aaron down and said, yeah, do all this, next, never gonna happen, right? It's just gonna disappear. So if you can, take that time, you will get such beautiful results. Time for like a truncated fruit? No, we did not. Let's just 12:10. Be safe.
Let's go to 12:10? Never mind, we do.
Okay.
I take it back.
Yeah.
I take it back.
So we do have time for one person. Want to add anything? Aaron, thank you.
Yes. This is going to be much shorter.
We can do a short
one
round.
round. But so come on up and start getting ready. But I think the one thing that I would add, is just that no, you know what? You did fantastic, and because it was fantastic, now I can if it were me, if it were me who was teaching, I can literally hone specific moments, because it gets better, the better it gets, the more refined the work gets. Feel me?
Yeah.
Which I thought was excellent. Yes.
For some of my kids, this is gonna be scary for them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And what if they don't get laughs, and how do you kind of work through that?
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Which is a wonderful question.
I would table that, but I'd like to come back. Table it.
Great.
Yeah,
and
I want to come back
I'm
to
table
it.
it too.
Because because it's that vulnerability, right?
Yeah, I have a question too for after.
Okay, good.
All right, great,
We're gonna have
fantastic.
some time for reflection. Time is super important, not just for comedy, but to give those constraints, right? So they're there for a reason. Okay,
Dig.
great.
Cool. Fantastic. Neil?
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic. We're going to start with
We're gonna do a minute when you're ready.
You ready?
Okay.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Neil!
So recently someone asked me what I'm really annoyed by. And the thing that annoys me the most, all the time, because I go to theater and I have to go to the bathroom all the time, is men's bathrooms. I cannot stand the smell that comes out of men. I can't tell. It's really disgusting. And this sort of constant, stuff that fluids from our bodies, the liquid acid death that always comes out all the time. And then sometimes, women's bathrooms are usually packed during the break time. But recently there's been lots of unisex use of both, so I'll get a chance to go in the women's bathroom when the men's bathroom is packed, right? It smells like roses in the women's bathroom. No matter what fluids comes out of the woman's body, right? It always smells like roses. And there's no toilet paper on the ground. You'll go to a men's bathroom and the door's hanging off and nothing is working for a long time. And you go in there and you're looking for the last, what remains on the roll that you can actually wipe your ass with or whatever it is that you have to do, right? And it's all on the ground, stuck to the ground, and it smells like putrid acid death, right?
So again, modeling that, don't have them sit down while it's fresh. let's
Yeah,
do that.
definitely. Also, I totally disagree with you. I did theater at an all-girls school. That's where I started doing theater. Girls are gross. So, what was relatable? How about the
Smell.
The smell? Absolutely.
Yeah. Bathroom.
Legit, like a bathroom, right? Right, absolutely, totally relatable. I mean, everyone's a theater person in your theater. The break, we always say the women's restroom is always packed, and the dudes are just we're good. Totally. What else? Yes?
Just the horror of going to public bathrooms.
The horror of the public bathroom. There you go. I love that. Quotes and lines.
Putrid acid death.
You can absolutely. There was. Let's be honest over here. This got a huge pop, and you guys weren't saying the line.
Smells that come out of men.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. I got a huge pop over there, and I'm make sure that we write that down. This
And
smells that come out
you
of
do
men.
need to write it down because if he said it differently, with a different word order, it gets very technical with comedy. It wouldn't be
It's
as
so
funny.
technical.
The smells that come out of
And
men.
this is fair. I'm gonna say that. I'm just gonna heighten that again. The specificity of comedy is huge. I promise you, there will be a student who's the funny kid, and this is the lesson that they will take. Hopefully, they take with them in any other class. But no. The structure matters. Like, you can't just be, I mean, you think you can just be funny. It doesn't work the second time when you think you're just being funny, because it needs that structure. We want to hear those words in that order. It isn't as funny
Which
as
is
if
why you
I'm
have to
like,
write
men
it."
smell bad. Not as funny as the smell that come out of men. Dig it, yes.
I just was gonna add to that, that I think part of what made it funny was that leading up to it, I had thought you were gonna say men's bathrooms, but like the smell that comes out of men's bathrooms, but because you just said men, that, you know what I mean, because you were leading, that's all.
I adore that assessment. That is a wonderful assessment. You've given us everything. Yes, you're telling us everything that works about it and why. Wonderful. That was fantastic.
One more thing.
Sorry.
We gotta wrap up.
Yep. What do you want more of?
Maybe noticing the reactions, sort of the same thing.
Oh, dig it. No, that's totally valid.
Okay.
Wait, no, that's
I think I was giving direction.
a little bit, but I hear you like I want to be seen more. Like I just want like.
Or do you want him to take more time?
Well,
If you had
it makes me go like
More
this. Every
audience.
time I think about men's bathrooms, it makes me go like this and like.
I actually
So I don't
continued to
know
play on that
if
because I saw
other
your
people did
reaction.
that.
I was like,
Oh, so you could have
I could have
I
done
think
more. I saw you do that and I
That's
thought
crowd
maybe I
work
should
there.
play that
Yeah,
better.
okay.
Yeah.
Dig it, Bridget.
I was just thinking I was one of your people that you sent to, and I was waiting for more of the description of the men's bathroom. You finally got to the toilet paper.
Yeah.
But I think I wanted more of the grossness versus the roses.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the door hanging off was
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
And I thought more like dystopian description of bathroom.
I wanted the urinal cake.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna fuck.
I just learned what that is.
That's what we're aiming for.
I don't know if I commented more of like what you should or shouldn't do, but I wanted more of like focus on the men's bathroom.
Dig it. No, that's I'm okay with that. So in the feedback of it, thank you very much. Do we have any direct direction that we want to give right
I
now?
don't think so.
Okay,
It's
great.
also like, again, like we have more time, we would do another, we would have him do
Absolutely.
it again and take 2 minutes this time. So that's sort of the build that we did with Aaron. I'm sorry if we can't.
But in the framing of the feedback, round of applause.
Thank you.
In the framing of the feedback, I would make sure that I see how you guys are like nervous on this one. Make sure that it's like I got this and I wanted more of it because it was so good. Like that's the framing of that want more. So it's not that like that was bad. There's nothing that was bad here. Like man, you were just in the sweet spot when you were talking about how awful this bathroom is, and I'm like, I want more. Go for it, right?
And that's why Anthony, like, he's modeling it so beautifully, because that's why, however you guys set up your feedback, that you could do 2 that the kids could really do on their own, but then the 2 that you could guide more. But in general, you need to drive this car, right? Because it's so easy to go, you should, or you must anything, which tells us nothing. Yeah. I wanted, before we reflect, I do want to take just a moment for that question about what if no one's laughing, and like I'm dying a slow death on stage in front of my peers. Thoughts about that? How might you handle that besides saying don't try to be funny, which is something you do say, but how might you handle that? Yeah.
Well, I've seen a lot of comics, and frequently a lot of them do this amazing thing where they just say, "Well, I didn't write that joke," or or I wrote the joke, bad, that was bad. So I don't move on. Like you just sort of you reflect on yourself in the moment of what you just did, and it sort of takes it off, and then the audience tends to. I've seen that most audience laugh with them about how bad the joke was.
There's a saying about comedy that the audience loves to see you fail, because then they feel like they can too, in the safety of sitting in the room. So yes, comedy does allow you, if you go up on a line, so to speak, you can break, that fourth wall is broken, and you can just say, well, I guess that didn't work. So that's it.
Okay, I wanted to and that. It kind of went back to time, and now I have this wonderful phrase. We've always said like, don't let the audience get ahead of you. And I was in my sketch writing class. I just heard someone was like, don't let the audience get ahead of you because they are going to try. They don't want to be left behind. Don't let them get ahead because they are trying to get ahead because they don't want to be left behind. So they are trying to get there faster than you, which goes to time and goes to pace. Just to think about that. Sorry, we're back to this idea.
Yeah.
Also, I think that starting in the way that we've done this work, the way that we've done this one, where you're talking to someone and you're already looking for the thing, like you told the story twice and you're like, oh, that's starting to get something, and that's starting to get something, and also I think you will find, or in most cases, you will find that the 2 people who heard the story want to laugh with it.
Any other thoughts on what about no
I was
laughs?
just gonna say, I noticed the first thing that you said was don't try to be funny. you said it a few times, that, I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but I've been told my whole life that I'm a funny person. I joke around a lot, but I'm not saying that for a compliment, I'm just saying like, once I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna answer the questions. But then when I told Natasha the story, like, I wasn't gonna concentrate on just the fear, but I did that because she did. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna talk about why I'm afraid of cats. And then with that, I just mentioned a couple of examples. I didn't think it was gonna be funny, but she was laughing because I referenced my friend's crazy cat growing up. My ex-boyfriend would love the cats more. But I think that if we tell the kids, try not to be funny, and then this way if they're not, then.
And you can keep amplifying that, but it's tough, right? They're more vulnerable, we're adults, right? So we can handle that and nobody laughs. I think that's a really important pitfall. But we're funny, and I'll leave it here because we have to get to reflection and we can chat before lunch, but we're funny when we're authentic.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah. When we are being ourselves and we are being vulnerable and we are showing ourselves and being authentic, that's when we are funny. Just say, this is me in my life. In the men's bathroom.
I had a question really quick, I swear.
Sure.
It's just that I've tried to do stand-up comedy with my class once, and it really backfired because they really did some offensive stuff. They got up. And I'm just curious if you guys have a way of, because a lot of what they see as stand-up, they think that's like actually what it is.
Right.
And I've really struggled with it, and I haven't touched it because of it.
Another great question. First thing that comes to mind for me is to gather those scripts before you see them.
Yeah.
And read that over before you put it up.
Yeah.
On stage. So you can decide like, hey, great, we wrote something, but try something else.
Yeah, yes, and the idea of, I mean, again, the way that it comes about, like this particular, like the way that you make it, and similarly going back to a question to being like, don't try to be funny. You're like, no, I want to tell the story, and you're kind of, this is the way that I always look at it. But like, I love theater and I love comedy because you're showing behind the curtain. Right? If it's really funny, I can tell you exactly what I'm gonna do and you'll still laugh because you're like, it just is funny, right? Like it just works. So when you're explaining, you're showing the magic trick, you're like, no, you're looking at the stand-up on TV, blah, blah, blah. That's the end product. That's like, I'm showing you behind the curtain, I'm showing you how to make the magic trick work. And it isn't just like, because fuck, it's funny. Right. Now that's recorded, damn it. Now that like, because I said that, it's funny, like that isn't what did it. What did it is this pace, is this measure, is this order of words, like now I'm taking you behind the curtain and I truly don't have a problem with students swearing. I have a problem with when I'm like, it loses efficacy. Like it really does, like if you drop the F-bomb one time, it's like, law of diminishing returns. Like if you keep doing it and I am also bad enough of a person to like let a student die a slow death on stage if that's what they think is funny, be like, okay, go swear for 5 minutes and tell me how that goes.
And I always say if you're swearing, you don't have much material unless you're Chris Rock.
But I'm not thinking of cursing, I'm thinking of much worse.
I know what you're saying,
much worse
it's just really, really difficult and not appropriate content.
Yeah.
You know what you're saying. You could call it storytelling. Semantics matter. You can say we're not doing stand-up, you're all doing stories. So no one's trying to be. And that's the thing about, it's wonderful to have all that Netflix and all that, but it's also a double-edged sword, right? Because then they like Anthony said, they look at it and say, oh, that's so easy. Yeah, I can just do that like that. No, that takes years. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, great question. We have to get you can hit us up afterwards.
We've been asked to get you to lunch on time.
To the reflection.
Before I forget, lunch is in room 304. And you can grab
the food
and be anywhere in the building.
Are you giving emails or anything like that where we can take a picture of it or something?
Absolutely, you can just check out afterwards. I have an email you can definitely. We'd love for you to stay in touch and talk more about this. But right now, we need to kind of shift to the teacher hat.
Yes.
So you can put it back on. We love this group over here in this section to be a group, and then we probably could do another group over here, maybe two. We want you just to talk in small groups about these three things. What struck you as a participant or as a learner, or both, in this session we had together? Any concrete takeaways, including questions, you have some great ones already, for your own practice, and then anything you noticed about the facilitation of the workshop itself.
You have like a minute and a half, and then we're going to
ask
each group to share something. Cool, great. Go, share, turn. Stop looking at me. Don't look at me.
I have impression with the team, big time, I was out. And that would be great.
20 kindergarten, 8 grades, so it's
It wasn't like improv, it was like theater class, and I was like, and I was like, I'm not like that. My high schoolers were mad. You know, I was like, my high schoolers were mad. But I mean, like, everyone acts like high school's hard, and I was like, high school is say something, so like they wouldn't, and I'm like, these like 7th graders out like, you know, for
I'm gonna shoot right past you.
but yeah, they were just so mean. They were so mean. And like, each other. I mean, yeah. And just about, I mean, like, they literally said that sitting next to a Spanish student talking about what time it is.
Well, and this is, I did the, thing I know it wasn't on here, it was just about,
All right, y'all, all right.
And we're back.
And we're back. So, from this group over here, what's something that stuck out to you as a participant, as a learner? Real quick, yes? Anything? No?
Most of us agree on the specificity.
Nailed it.
Say that word.
Specificity. Nailed it.
Where you go up your charts, because I feel like we've done feedback, but we are commenting that's very helpful.
Fantastic, lovely. How about y'all? How are some concrete takeaways for your own practice?
We like the line, the what do you want more of?
Yeah.
Gets the kids engaged, because we were saying that, you know, when they come in to observe, they want everybody engaged, even like the 30 kids sitting watching the show.
Sure.
They can't just be sitting there, they have to want something.
I like your specific questions because, you know, I'm in practice of the whole thing. I think I see, I wonder, because we talk about that all the time, it's both in the arts and it's also what our principal wants us to do all the time, that has problems, even with high school kids. But this, what do you want to see more of?
Yeah.
Like very specific questions.
Connect to the champion, a champion for, as the peers, are champions for each other.
And from everyone, whoever would like to go, what did you notice about the facilitation?
You guys kept it moving.
We kept it
Dead space.
Kept it safe, kept it moving.
Great.
Anything from the back? We didn't hear from this.
We liked the prompts for the writing.
Yes.
And your energy was great.
Yay! Nice to see. Likewise. It was a really, really fun workshop. We had to be with you all. Thank you for your great questions.
We all want to perform after the comedy show. Like 3 hours out.
I'm available. You can definitely take pictures of this if you want to. And I'm here if you want to connect over email.